This is Thank You Mama, weekly lessons from mothers all around the world. Hello and welcome to Thank You Mama. My name is Anna Teider and my guest today is Lindsay Michels. Lindsay is the CMO and co-founder of Executive Doula, which is an agency that helps businesses to support their working mothers and helps working mothers to go back to work. And Lindsay will tell us more about it. I'm very excited to hear more about it. Hi, Lindsay, and welcome.
Hi, Anna. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm super excited to have you. And congratulations, Lindsay is a mom of a 2.5-year-old boy. And there is a little girl that's coming soon in a few weeks. Congratulations,
Yes,
Lindsay.
July. We can't wait. We're so excited. Just a few short weeks. I can't believe how fast it's gone by.
I know. It's crazy how it goes quickly. Lindsay, tell me more about the Executive Doula.
I would be happy to. So Janelle and I really started to identify that there was this huge gap in care. Women were connected to a provider until 6 weeks postpartum, and then after that, they had zero connection to any type of professional that could help them through their postpartum journey, whether it was their first kid or fourth kid. Everyone needs help through that postpartum time. So Janelle and I, both having a background in corporate finance, really saw this firsthand, having transitioned in and out of maternity leave ourselves, her with 4 kids and me with my first. And what we realized is that there needed to be so much more support afterwards. So we both had doulas at our birth, and we knew what a traditional birth doula did, but we felt like they could do more because we didn't want to separate that idea of care, that idea of, support in your career life and support in your personal life. We wanted to combine them and make sure that there were no gaps. So what we created was an executive doula. And the way we structured our company is that we would provide the benefit through the actual companies to their employees so that everyone was on the same page and there was just no more gaps. We would go in through the company and assess the company for their preparedness for an expecting employee. And we do interviews and surveys to make sure that employees understand what their benefits are at the company. They feel comfortable taking it, how they feel management handles it, if they feel supported enough, things like that. And then we also offer year 1 programming, which are customized educational series where we have industry professionals come in. We customize it to whatever management and HR thinks their employee base might need to hear. So, if it's a mental load session, or we've done a virtual learning session, creating your personal board of directors, birth journey, workplace biases, anything, really educating the entire company, not just women, the entire company on anything related to working parenthood. And then the third piece of our service is the actual executive doula service. So they will provide the support through pregnancy, like a normal birth doula would, labor, delivery, but especially postpartum. So instead of that 6 weeks, we provide care 1 entire year postpartum. And we really focus on that transition in and out of maternity leave. We help them create a workplace transition plan as well as a birth plan. And like I said, really combining that personal and professional levels of care so that it's just holistic. They have one person to go to for everything because they really are so intertwined. And just making sure that they have everything they need, a detailed resource guide with every type of postpartum care that you could think of, lactation, physical therapy, maternal mental health support, things like that. We tailor all of that for them. The executive doulas are proactively asking questions, making sure that, they have everything they need, or, identifying issues that may come up, all of those kind of things. All of our executive doulas have a corporate background as well as traditional birth doula training. So they have that knowledge from both sides. And then when they come on board with us, we also put them through a workplace culture training so that they really understand the nitty gritty of what we're trying to do and who we're trying to help and the struggles that they go through and how best to help them. So they have a lot of training, a lot of experience, and we've just gotten such incredible feedback. It's something that Janelle and I both wish that we had when we were back in that position. So just really happy to be making a change and hoping that we get to a point where all companies, because it really does require a mindset shift for some of these companies, but we're really hoping to get to a point where stuff like this is just standard, that, companies really want to invest in their women.
It should be standard. And I already spoke to Janelle, and we talked about two things. First, about how different the culture is in United States versus Europe, for instance, where I come from, where women are fully supported, not executive doula-like, but really supported in their pregnancy and postpartum and maternity leave and financially and everything else. How that is lacking in this country, and this is why there's a need for something like executive doula. A, and B, how times have changed and cultures have changed. And we say it takes a village to raise a child, and it does. And we used to have this village until only recently, until less than 100 years ago. Women had their families around them and neighbors, and they were not alone. And now suddenly, women, after they had their child, are completely isolated and alone. But we haven't accepted yet the fact that now that the natural village is gone, we need to pay for it. Then we need somebody needs to pay for it. Governments need to pay for it. Businesses need to pay for it, or we have to pay for it. And we'll talk about this later, this acceptance of the fact that sometimes we need help.
I'm a huge proponent of it.
What is your background? Tell me a little bit more about your background. How did you get into executive doula?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a background in, I actually got my degree in marketing and communications, and I ended up in finance in New York City, just, working for a hedge fund and then a placement agent. I am now currently based in Charlotte, North Carolina. And once I had my son and realized that I couldn't go on this way, I knew it was time for a change. I mean, they didn't even have a maternity leave policy before me. The only other woman who had kids at the firm never really took a leave. She just kind of worked from home through it. So I was like, wow, that's kind of ridiculous.
When you come from Europe, that's you just don't understand that that's possible.
That's unheard of.
It's unheard of.
It's unheard of. Right. Like somebody would look at you like you had 3 heads. Like, how is that even possible?
Exactly.
Yeah. So she just, I think she had 4 kids at the firm and had worked straight through everything. But so they wrote a maternity leave policy for me. I think they gave me 8 weeks, which was, far from what I needed. And I had such separation issues when I had to go back to work. They offered me no flexibility, even though I was commuting 45 minutes to an hour each way. And when I got to the office, there's only 4 other people in my office, none of whom I worked directly with. The only 2 people I worked directly with were located in DC and New York. So all of my work was virtual anyway, but they needed me to be in the office for some reason. Who knows? It was really, I think, this old school thought of, you're just taking a day off, or you're slacking off, or which I'm curious to know how that changed during COVID.
I hope it did.
I'm sure most of their employees, I'm sure they had to shut down the office. But I was there an entire year postpartum. I didn't leave for a year, and it was so difficult. I mean, even when it came to pumping and things like that at work, they gave me like a rollaway wall for my cubicle. They didn't even provide me with like an actual private room. So like it was uncomfortable, people could hear me. I was, it was not a good situation whatsoever. And I really suffered mentally and didn't realize it. I didn't realize until looking back how bad my postpartum depression really was, and how much I struggled being separated from my son like that. During the week, I saw him for an hour and a half in the morning, an hour and a half at night. And that was me getting ready and then getting him ready for bed. So, very minimal quality time. And it really affected me. But I didn't have anyone asking those questions. I didn't have anyone, helping me identify the problem that I had, or getting help. So it was kind of a bit of divine intervention the way Janelle and I met. She is friendly with my aunt, who is also big time in finance. And she had this, idea, not completely fleshed out, but was really excited about this idea and brought it to my aunt. And it was literally the day after I had cried on the phone to my aunt the entire drive home from work, because I was completely breaking down mentally. And my aunt was like, "Oh my goodness, you need to talk to my niece." Because I had also just had a doula at my birth, and I gave birth at a birth center. So I understood both sides of this service and Janelle's idea. So then we connected, and it was honestly like we had known each other forever. It was a beautiful meeting, and it's been a beautiful relationship ever since. And we just could not be more on the same page about what we want to do and where we want to take this company and how we want to help people. It really came from firsthand experience of suffering through the problem that we're trying to fix. That led me here. And it was honestly, I mean, the reason I know that it was so meant to be is because, it took me a little bit to get to a point where I could leave and, take a startup salary. So Janelle and I had been kind of working behind the scenes to make sure that I was financially taken care of when I left my job. I was the primary breadwinner at the time. And I was going to give my 2 weeks notice on a Wednesday. And the Friday before, they actually ended up having a call with the entire company saying that one of the partners was leaving. And then a tertiary effect of that was that I was going to be let go. So I ended up getting 3 months severance as well. And I was just like, oh my goodness, like this could not have worked out any better. It gave me a little nest egg to start off and really get going. And I was like, this is what I was meant to do. I was meant to go do this.
This is one of my favorite lessons in life, really. When you learn to stand to yourself and make a decision, and especially a hard decision like this, and show courage, life supports you. It's like,
I know,
it throws 3 months salary at you and goes like, okay, you can do this.
You can't make this up. You can't make it up.
No, you can't make it up. Lindsay, you're also a trained doula, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I have personal clients that I serve on the side as well.
Wow. Let's talk about mom. Let's talk about mom, Lori. Will you tell me a little bit about her?
Yes. So she is my best friend. And, we have had such a wonderful relationship throughout the years, and a challenging one at that. I didn't grow up in the easiest circumstances. My parents, never really got along well. And, that was really difficult for her to navigate. There wasn't always a united front. And, she was always trying to mitigate the damage that it would have on my brother and I, as best she could. But, I really look up to her, and I give her a lot of credit for the things that she went through in her life, and the way that she was able to kind of come out on the other end. She's just one of those people that when she walks in the room, like you feel her energy, you want to smile, she makes you laugh. She's a really, really good, kind person. And she has taught me a lot of life lessons that have carried me through things that I'm not sure other people would have been lucky enough to persevere through. she's given me a lot of strength. I come from a long line of strong women and strong mothers, and I just feel so blessed for that every single day.
Did she work?
She did, yes. She actually has her own business. She is a real estate title searcher, which, a lot of people don't know what that is, but she worked for a company when I was born. And then by the time my brother was born, she had her own company doing it herself. So she been an entrepreneur pretty much my whole life that I can remember. And, that's always inspiring when you're trying to go out on your own, having someone that has, done it in your life and been successful at it. So yeah, she's been a little bit of an inspiration in that. And also, just very helpful in that transition from a structured lifestyle to, independent. You're responsible for your own work.
Which is so scary.
It's a big adjustment.
It's a big adjustment. Did she get divorced?
No. So they recently separated, but not divorced. They're, I think they're just going to stay married and go on with their lives separately.
How is she doing?
It's hard. She's having a hard time. I mean, she ended up leaving our house in New York that I grew up in, and my dad stays there, and she moved to Florida where her sister is and my grandparents, and now she might move up to Charlotte by us. So I think she's just kind of like sorting through literally within the last year. So I think she's trying to just find her place. I think she spent way too much of her life trying to make that marriage work. That was, it was just never going to work. And now she's trying to find her place. She's always been very independent. So that's good. And that's been very helpful to her, but it's a lot of change all at once. And I think anybody, especially at that stage in their life, would have quite an adjustment period.
But I heard so many inspiring and empowering stories of moms who go through these changes at, 50 in their 50s and 60s, and they're scary. It's always scary. You've been in this situation for 30 something years, and now suddenly everything is different. But it's beautiful to hear how, after a period of adjustment, how awesome these women are doing later on.
And that's going to be her. I'm telling you, that's going to be her.
Yeah.
Like, she's just going to thrive. I know her. I mean, like I said, people just are drawn to her. She has that kind of personality. I'm not worried about her in one bit.
Let's learn from her, Lindsay.
Yes.
Yeah. So what would be the most important lessons she taught you?
One of the most important things that she ever, really drilled into my head was consideration. The idea of being a considerate person. And, we hear this word, but I don't think we actually know what it means or think about what it means. And when you sit back and think of what it really means to consider other people and to consider what your words and what your actions mean, and to consider, how what you're doing might make someone else feel or how it might affect something else, you really can make a difference that way. And you can really, I just think you can just accomplish more, and you can make more of an impact. And she always preached this idea of like consideration and thoughtfulness. And it has taken me really, really far in life. I just don't think it's a skill that enough of us have.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any other lesson?
Strength and perseverance. I'm sure if she was here, she would say to a fault, that she probably shouldn't have put up with as much as she did. And wishes that she hadn't exposed me to that, because when you're in the moment, it's hard to determine if, walking away or staying is the best decision. But I think at this point, when she reflects back, she wishes that she hadn't put up with enough or with so much. But in my eyes, when I look back, I think of how strong and what she was able to get through and still be kind, happy human being and find the good in people and things like that. And I think it can be a tragic flaw sometimes, but it really just depends on how you carry yourself moving forward. And I have been through a lot in my life outside of, growing up with them, that I feel like I have been able to handle much more gracefully and positively than, other people, or than I could have if I didn't learn that from her, on how to keep moving and make sure that it doesn't affect you forever negatively. Like one moment or one person doesn't just ruin you forever. And I think she's even displaying that now, being, like you said, being in that situation for 30 some odd years and still staying on top, and still being able to say, like, I'm not going to let this bring me down. Like, I'm not going to let it ruin me. I still have a lot of life to live. I'm still a happy, vibrant, kind person. And I think I've been able to inherit that from her, which I'm very grateful for.
That's so inspiring. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You talked about help, asking for help.
Yes. I think that was probably the biggest lesson that I learned in motherhood, was that coming from this corporate finance background where women aren't necessarily respected in the same way that men are. And, you feel very type A, and you have to do it all on your own, and you have to prove yourself, and you have to, all of these things are really just like driven into our mind over the years as a woman. And becoming a mother is just so humbling, because naturally my first reaction is, no, I can do it. No, I'm fine. No, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And when you break down that wall and say, if it's okay to ask for help, or you make someone else realize it's okay to ask for help, it's like the most amazing feeling ever. It's like you just lose the weight of these chains that have been trapping you for so long for no reason. There's no reason that you have to do it all on your own. And you talked about the idea of it takes a village. It really does take a village. And I don't know what happened in our society, especially in America, to make us feel like we don't need that village, that we can do it all on our own. Because, we can't. And when we try to, somebody suffers because of it.
Yeah.
Whether it's our kids, ourselves, our marriage, our family, somebody suffers when you try to do it all on your own. And there are so many people out there that are willing to help, and they may not be as cognizant or proactive about it as they were in the past, or as they are in other cultures. But it's okay to say, like, I can't do it today. Or I need you to do this, take this off my plate. Or, even, can you go grab this for me? I see moms like breastfeeding and do it, like, and I'll walk up and I'll be like, can I get that for you? Like,
or open the door for them. Or simple things.
Yeah. It's okay to ask for help. And if you need it, ask for it. So many people out there nobody's judging you. People want to help you, even if they're not screaming in your face, I'll help you. I'll do whatever you need. They still want to help you, and they want to be there for you.
And then you mentioned a lesson from her about the importance of raising a kind child. Does that go hand in hand with consideration, or would you separate those?
I think I would separate those, or maybe consideration is kind of like a sub context to raising a kind human. I think more so even when she was raising us, my brother and I think now more than ever, people need to realize how much more important it is to raise a kind, compassionate human than anything else. Because especially with the pressures of school and social media and, whatever we're exposed to, people are focused on, who hit their milestone first, and, who eats the healthiest, and who has this perfect life, and who gets into the best schools, and who is smarter than the other kid. Like, those things are important, but they're not as important as raising a kind human being. I get more compliments on my child's manners at 2.5 years old
Mm-hmm.
than I've ever gotten on, oh my God, he can already walk. Or,
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, so
Yeah.
to me, it's just like we focus on the wrong things in society
Mm-hmm.
right now, especially because social media is highlighting it. And I wish we could take a step back and remember that when none of that matters eventually, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. At the
I
end
don't know
of the
if
day,
I walked earlier than you walked, and it doesn't
it
matter.
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what school I went to or what school you
Yeah.
went to. It matters that I'm kind and compassionate, and that I care about other human beings, and that I work hard to help other human beings. And no matter what industry you're in, those qualities will help you
They will
succeed.
help you. And I talked to Kai about this. I'm also raising him to be kind and to be polite and to respect his teachers and older
Mhm.
people. And I'm extremely happy that obviously it has an effect, because all of his teachers and parents of his friends compliment him on that and in front of him. And then I talk to him about this, and I say, you see, when you're kind and polite and respectful, people like that, and then they will treat you with kindness, politeness, and respect. So you will
And
kind
then
of
opportunities will open up for you.
you will
Nobody
get a
wants
good
to give the
treatment.
opportunity. Yeah, nobody wants to give the opportunity to like this rude person, or the rude
Exactly.
kid, or
Yeah.
the quote unquote brat, or
No.
somebody who's like, as a mother, it's one of the best compliments I can get.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And then the next lesson I wrote down is about comparing yourself to others. I love that
I
lesson,
think those kind of go.
especially in
I think
times
those
of
kind of go hand
social.
in hand.
Yeah.
Oh, social media, man! It really sometimes I feel like it does more harm than good.
It does.
I think that was a big lesson of mine in motherhood, and it opened my eyes to how much I did it even before social media and before, it's like you especially on social media are seeing someone's highlight reel. And I know that this gets a decent amount of attention, that like, what you see on Instagram is not somebody's real life and blah, blah, blah. But for some reason, it doesn't stop you from feeling,
Exactly.
feeling inferior when you see it. I'm like, well, I see this quote unquote perfect family on Instagram, and I see their highlight reel and everything, but I know they have issues. Like I could put my highlight reel out and I still have issues, but it doesn't help you from being, from feeling insecure. And it took me a long time to kind of take a step back and be like, and distance myself from social media and distance myself from the idea of that. And when I'm feeling that way, sitting down and examining why I feel that way and how to turn it around. Take the milestones again, for example. I see a kid on Instagram, someone's kid on Instagram who's the same age as my kid, doing something that my kid can't do yet, and starting to compare and to put pressure. And I think a lot of people take that too far. I mean, all kids, even with disabilities or delays and things like that, they're going to do stuff on their own time, when they're ready, when they get there. And social media and stuff, it just puts so much pressure on you. Oh, like this mom is cooking this way for her children, I don't do that, I'm the worst mom ever. Like it's just not a tit for tat type of thing. And you have to really sit down and put yourself in your place, because can spiral so easily. And there are just so many times that I sit down and I'm like, Lindsay, you are doing the absolute best you can. You love your kids so much. You do everything you can, and you're happy, and your kids are happy, and everybody, it's like you have to remind yourself of these things, because you will go down a rabbit hole that you can't get out of.
Yep. Yeah. And then we had a last lesson about how little support there is for working moms. Did you see that with your mom?
I didn't witness it personally, but I did hear stories about it, especially running her own business. There was no time, there was nobody offering any type of support or anything like that for her. She had no access to resources, no nothing. So in my mind, I'm like, that kind of just deters women from being entrepreneurial, you know, like if I can't, why would I do that if I can't even raise my kids and I have no support? I can't take any time off. I can't, because I just won't get any money, or I have nobody helping me, because it's not like she had employees or anything. It was her business that she ran herself. So like I said, she was with a company when I was born, and she got maybe 6 weeks or something like that. But with my brother, I mean, I think she just took like a couple quick weeks and then went right back to work. She had no choice. When I hear that kind of stuff, I feel for her, and I'm just like, how is our society set up this way? That would never happen to a man. Like that just,
I know, but
it's here.
I think I asked I don't know if I asked in the panel we were all in, but I've been in this country for 10 years now. I don't understand that moms are not out on the streets. Like, this is
right.
How are mothers in the United States of America, of any generation, not out there in the streets demanding regulated maternity leave? How is it possible that that's not an issue we can get emotional about and, angry about and revolutionary about?
Of all the things that we can get angry and emotional about, how is it?
That's still a mystery to me. I'm leaving this country soon, and unfortunately that hasn't solved.
It takes a lot of grooming, right? A lot of grooming, because even 50, 60, 70 years ago, women were not, it wasn't a standard for women to be in the workplace, especially in America. And I think as they started entering the workforce, there was a lot of grooming that went on that made women feel like, you better not make a wrong move because you don't deserve to be here. Like I said before, the whole like type A, you have to prove yourself, you have to this. So it's like women are too scared to speak up for what they need because they still feel like they don't deserve to be there deep down.
Yep. But also I wonder if there's not enough information. I don't know if how many women in America and average women, how much they know that it's possible, that, that it's different in other countries and that it's possible. Maybe they just don't
it's definitely not publicized.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they don't even know that in most of Europe and most of the world, women get a year off, a paid year with a safe job to return to.
Like I was talking about earlier, the idea of our executive doulas providing this hands-on proactive service, because I don't think women even understand what they need until after the fact.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, until after the fact, where they're like, oh man, I remember when my son was born, I wish I had this, or I wish I had that. And especially as things slowly change, when I talked to my grandmother who worked, and, what I have now is even more than she had back then, so it's like, you don't even know what you need until you need it, and no one is being proactive in providing it. And that's the sad part. It just makes you feel like you don't care. They don't care. They're very happy just letting moms hang out to dry.
Lindsay, let's talk about if there was anything you wish your mom was able to teach you, anything you had to learn by yourself.
I don't know if it was necessarily her fault, but I don't think that she really taught me the importance of mental health. And I don't know if that's like a generational thing or whatnot. I know it's a lot more mainstream to talk about. It's less taboo to talk about now. But I really wish that she had stressed to me the importance of mental and even physical health, to be honest. It really makes such a difference in who you are and how productive you are and what kind of mother and wife and friend and, just contributing member of society that you are. And I think a big deal of that is, or a big part of that is, putting yourself first sometimes. And I just don't really remember her ever doing that. So then it gets passed down that you shouldn't do that, And there are times, there has come a point where I was like, I don't know how to do this on my own anymore. like I need help from someone else, or, it's not enough to just like talk to your mom or talk to your friends. Like I needed help from an outside source. I think that might be where she says that she persevered to a fault, because she just kept chugging along. She just kept chugging along. And it doesn't teach your kids that it's okay to not be okay, or that you need to seek help when you're not okay. And there's nothing wrong with that, because even the difference between my view on mental health and my brother's view on mental health, I mean, just completely polar opposite. He would never go see a therapist in a million years. And I'm all about it now at this point in my life, but I could have used it a lot earlier, a lot earlier. So I just, I really wish that I had learned more about the importance of mental health, more about learning that it's okay to take time for yourself, and that you need to fill your own cup up sometimes. And it's not always easy, and you don't always have the time for it, but when it presents itself, you have to take it. And I think as much as she taught me, or tried to mitigate the damage of what I saw between her and my dad, I don't feel like she taught me enough about what I should look for in a partner. And I was lucky enough to navigate that well, and I ended up with a very amazing husband who is just so helpful and really understanding, and and works through things with me, and is just willing to be better than what society has as the threshold for dads and husbands. So I really got lucky, but I do wish that was more, that was something that I was helped, because I got lucky. Yeah, I feel like that was more.
Yeah.
When I look at the differences between me and my brother, I see how differently things can play out, and that I really did get lucky. Yeah, I mean, it's hard, and it's hard as a mom, because you don't know the mistakes you're making until it's too late.
Yeah. You do the best you can.
Yeah, and I know she did the best she can, and but it makes you nervous, even as a mother, to think, I hope I'm not screwing my kid up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lindsay, thank you so much for this beautiful, beautiful conversation.
Yeah,
will you help me to recap her lessons? So sometimes I take these notes and they're just a lot of mumbo jumbo, but I think I have it. I have asking for help, raising a kind child, not comparing yourself to others, that there's little support for working moms, and we should change that. Thoughtfulness, being a considerable and thoughtful person towards other people, and being thoughtful about your words and actions, and knowing that they will have a certain effect. Strength and perseverance. I wrote down that watching our mothers, I just edited an interview with a daughter who was witnessing domestic abuse, and she actually said it made her stronger. And I wrote down with you as well that watching our mothers cope with their challenges teaches us strength.
It really does.
It does. I wrote down a quote, "One person doesn't ruin you forever." I love this.
It's so important.
It's so important. And that sometimes you need to put yourself first. And something that she did not teach you, yes, we have mental health, and this is where putting yourself first comes in, and mental and physical health, just taking care of yourself, and that it's sometimes okay not to be okay. And something you wish you were guided with was with what to look for in a partner. I love that.
Yeah, and I want to make sure I do that for my kids.
Yeah. Did I miss anything?
No, that was a perfect recap.
Wonderful. Lindsay, thank you again for being my guest.
Thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.
If you enjoy Thank You Mama and want to help it grow, please take the 2 seconds to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps. If you'd like to get in touch, you can send me a mail at info@thankyouMama.net. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter under Anna Teider, that's Tajder. This was Thank You Mama. Come back next week, subscribe, and tell your friends.